Laura Houston didn't really have that many demands in terms of what she was looking for on her wedding day. It's been a fairly low-key run-up into all this, as you can appreciate. But one of the things that she was absolutely and utterly insistent upon was the fact that I was to do Master of Ceremonies.
Four other people said no.
I don't believe that for a second, Liz. You'll get the chance to talk about it.
Exactly.
I know there's a lot of legal people here today, so you understand what caveat emptor means. So I've got the mic. I'm not going to detain it terribly long. I want to say a few things though before I get on to the main event. Firstly, I'm delighted to be doing this job for you. I have great fondness for my niece. She's the only niece that I have. So the bar hasn't been set terribly high. And she's a lovely girl, very fond of her. She was bridesmaid at my wedding 21 years ago, and my daughter was bridesmaid at her wedding today, so it's a very, very special day for us. Be Thou My Vision was also sung at our wedding, with considerably less gusto than it was today at Ballywillen. So big up to everybody here for the way that you sang. I have only got one couple of more bits of things to say, but anyway, Laura, Andy, what I would say to you is make sure that you have got Let's Eat or Just Eat or Deliveroo or all those food delivery apps on your phone, because a girl who, when I was talking to her one time, thought that boiling mushrooms was the best way to cook them could have some problems in the kitchen. The only other thing that I will say, and I bet you know this already, make sure there's plenty of Diet Coke in the house. And lastly, make sure that your Sky Planner or whatever DVR system that you use has got lots of catfish and first dates and kind of bubblegum television. And if you manage to get all that stuff lined up, then you're going to be good. The gentleman from the hotel, whose name escapes me, said we're hoping to get dinner on the go for around about 6 o'clock. So I'm eating into your time. I'll ask all the guys who I'm going to be handing the microphone to be as brief as they can. However, that's not going to happen. First up, no, it's not the father of the bride, as played by Steve Martin. It's the father of the bride, Bill Houston.
Good evening. Hello. I'm just in case, I think I know most people in here, but just in case there's any wedding crashers in, I'm Bill Houston, father of the bride. It's my absolute pleasure and privilege to welcome everybody on behalf of Liz and myself, particularly Steve and Sharon MacDonald and the MacDonald clan. As you know, Liz has been very heavily involved in organising this. There are many tricky decisions, and the first one, of course, is how many people to invite. So we looked up the internet and said, well, you'll get about 20% decline rate. And if you're bringing people from overseas, up that to 30%. So we invited 280, 85, 90, 10% decline. so the people in tables 11 and 17, the band will be joining you shortly. But I think we've got everybody squeezed in, and hopefully everybody's sitting comfortably. We're delighted to welcome all, one and all, but I want to give a special shout out for those who have travelled the distance. We've got James from Sydney. Right from two young up behind. We've got Heather, who travelled from San Francisco. We have Claire and Ryan that jetted in from New York. And we have Fiona, Rob and Barbara, all from Germany. So, one last minute welcome. The youngest guest here is young William Neely, 9 days old. Sorry, 8 days old. So, welcome to one and all. Those of you from England, you're most welcome to the mainland. just want to say a very few thank yous. Liz has gathered together the best florists, photographers, videographers, wedding stylists, hairstylists, makeup artists, the best local hotel. But what I want to do is just do a few thank yous to people who have volunteered for their roles or possibly been volunteered for their roles. James McLaughlin, who played Laura in on the cello, has travelled from London. He's known Laura since 13s. We used to go to a music camp in Milton Keynes. So thanks to James. I must say thanks to Heather Williamson, our minister's wife, Stephen's wife. She was instrumental in choosing the song for the pop-up choir, and she also encouraged us to thought it'd be a good idea. I initially had a vague idea, it might be something to do, but Heather's encouragement made it happen. Then Colin Elliott, who was the leader of the band, he gave us some coaching. Yes, we did actually have 3 coaching lessons, believe it or not. And of course 25 singers from all over Northern Ireland that came to the rehearsals, and I think it was a success. So, it was great to surprise Laura on her big day. We don't often get many things over in Laura, but we managed it today. Now, some of you will know that I'm a bit of a sucker for chick flicks, and it's funny that Robert should have mentioned Steve Martin, because he enlightened me on the difference between a marriage and a wedding. A marriage is where 2 people meet, fall in love, get married. A wedding is an entirely different proposition, as you can see. They had, in the film Father of the Bride, they had a guy called Frank, who was the wedding planner. The wedding planner on this occasion has been my beautiful wife, Liz. She's been planning this since Andy proposed on the 2nd of March 1915. Well, I think it was actually slightly before that. But I must say, we did have a bit of prior notice. Andy did ask us on the previous Christmas if it would be appropriate to ask Laura, and he asked us. I said, it's far too big a decision for me to make, so he asked Liz and I both. Of course, we were delighted. Now, when I first heard of the idea of a winter wedding, I thought this is a great idea. We'll not be relying on the dodgy Northern Ireland weather in the summer, and the below season in the local hotels. What I didn't realise was we're going to need 15 pairs of Wellingtons for the shoot in case there's wet underfoot, or 12 pairs of umbrellas, 12 umbrellas if it was wet overhead, and all sorts of other things. There were some things actually that won't see the light of day today. Liz at one stage had this idea that she would do wedding favours using silver spoons stamped with A&L and the date. So for about 2 weeks we had silver spoons arriving every day from eBay until Laura got wind of this idea and vetoed it. So if anybody's in the market for silver spoons, we have a dose of them. So we need to say something now about the bride and groom. I'll start with Andy, so probably a better chance of holding together when I'm speaking about Andy. We've known Andy for about 4 years, numerous visits to both him come to Northern Ireland, us going to London. We've been on a couple of holidays with him, and we've got to know him quite well. He's hard-working, ambitious, great guy, and he's also quite caring, which is very important because Laura does need a carer. As everybody knows, well, the main care she needs is to keep her possessions and her together. Now, Andy also has a strong homing instinct. Apparently, he will make it home come hell or high water every night, and he makes it home. Now, early on in their relationship, he did exactly that. He went home with Laura's bag. So he's looking after her possessions so well, he disappeared and left Laura to get her own way home, I think. And more recently, I understand he did try to get home from the stag do. The problem was the stag do was in Newcastle and home was in London. So he had ordered an Uber to take him to home. One small thing that has come up is DIY skills. Every time I go to London, there are a list of things to do, like changing light bulbs, that sort of high-tech stuff. And I began to think maybe is Andy what we would call in Northern Ireland handless. And a couple of incidents have proved to me that is in fact the case. We went on holiday to Sri Lanka last year, and Andy and I were dispatched to collect the luggage. And Liz and Laura, as you know, don't travel light, so with 3 huge cases together. So we got 2 of them off onto the trolley, and the third one Andy grabbed and heaved up onto the trolley and fell off again. And he did that with 3 times before he actually managed to get onto the trolley. So, and then the other thing, sorry, I lost my way there. Oh yes, the other incident was we recently helped them to move flat in Clapham, and of course there wasn't enough wardrobe space for Laura's huge amount of clothes. So we went to IKEA, bought a couple of wardrobes, and Andy gave me a hand to put the wardrobes together. You'll see Andy on the end of a screwdriver. Not good. So. But anyway, I'm quite happy doing any DIY that comes up, Andy. Over the years we've grown to love Andy. He's quick wit, sense of humour, and he's most welcome to the Houston family, not only our little family, but the wider Houston circle. What do I say about Laura? Laura has been a delightful daughter since she was born on the 8th of November 87, is that right? Yes. She's the best thing ever happened to us. We always say she's the best of both of us. So she's logical, calm under pressure, which I take has been my contribution. The other contribution I've made is she has an issue with blood and guts, as I have. And not recently, last year she fainted at work. Liz had been on the phone discussing some medical procedure with her. And Laura wasn't feeling well, and she headed for the toilet at work and collapsed in the corridor. And the colleagues were gathering around wondering what to do, when Heather came down the corridor saying, "Don't worry, she's from a family of fainters." Which is probably harsh but fair. The other thing she is quite competitive, which isn't something I think she's taken off us particularly. I think she got it from prep school, where they introduced a system of debits and credits. You got credits for good behaviour or good achievements, and debits. Now Laura amassed a huge number of credits and only ever got 1 debit for talking in class, which she denies to this day, and has never felt quite the same with the teacher that issued the credit. Liz and Laura have an amazing relationship. They phone daily, at least daily. And one morning recently, Liz woke up at 7:30. There's 27 WhatsApps waiting for her. Liz actually operates as Laura's 4th emergency service. At university, she was going to a fancy dress party, needed a sheep outfit. So we made a sheep outfit out of bath mats and sent it in the post. And then more recently, she was going to a wedding, but was too busy at work to get any stuff gathered up. So she sent Liz a photograph of the dress she wanted to wear, and Liz sent the accessories in the post. So it was a pretty amazing service. The other thing she has taken from Liz is a lack of sense of direction. When Nora was in her teens, she went to France with a school friend, Georgina, and they set off on their bikes and got lost. So Laura rang the 4th emergency service, and Liz managed to contact the parents and get them back together again. There was one other incident in France, by coincidence. Now when I say Anne is a very caring individual, one of the bridesmaids, Sarah, is at the other end of the caring spectrum. In fact, Sarah and Laura are a fairly lethal combination together. So 2 o'clock one morning, Liz got a phone call from Laura, I think by mistake probably, and she asked Laura where she was, and she said she was in South London going to North London. And they said, "No, you're in Toulouse." So it didn't take her long to correct her. Yes. So, but Laura really is a people person, very much like Liz. She has a huge circle of friends, hence all the people who are here today. She's a group of school friends who she's still very close to, called the Geese. She's her Cambridge mates, and she has her law friends. And I must say, she's been very good at sharing her friends with us. Every time we go to London, there's a posse gathered up to go out for something to eat, and likewise in Cambridge. So I must say, we regard many of you, although we're mostly Laura's friends, we regard many of you in this room as our friends as well. Laura and Andy undoubtedly will face some challenges. The most obvious one will be work-life balance with Laura and me, and even with Andy as a self-employed guy. But I'm sure they'll be able to overcome that with the support of their family and friends. Today's service is steeped in history for our family. My mum and dad, Tom and Dora, were married in Ballywillan nearly 70 years ago. And the communion table that Laura and Andy signed the register at was a donation from, or a gift from my mum and dad. So Liz and I, 32 years ago, when we got married, Liz's dad, John Johnson, did a poem for us. And I just want to finish with the last word of the poem, which I think is just, or the last verse of the poem, which I think is just as appropriate. We trust in their future together, wherever they happen to roam. They'll remember this special occasion, and the friends will welcome them home. Can I ask you to be upstanding and toast the bride and groom?
Hello. That was a tough one to follow, so anyway. I just want to say firstly that it's amazing to see everyone here in front of me today. The ceremony that Mr. Stephen Willis gave earlier was truly magical, and thank you to him for that. I've got plenty more thank yous to add, and on behalf of my wife and I. Bill touched upon it earlier, but I'll sort of add on to that as well, that people have come from a long way away to be here today. Some from Dubai, Germany, America. Personally, I'd like to obviously add a thank you to James, who's come all the way from Sydney, in behind his two little girls, and it means the world to me that you're here, mate. So, but everyone that has come today, it's truly amazing to share this all with you. There are some people that weren't able to come for a myriad of reasons. You know, unfortunately you can't be here today, but we're thinking of you as well. So, moving on. Moving away from the ashes for the time being, I wanted to say a couple of things about the bridal party. Firstly, no one's known for a long time. We've been so excited to find out. We know what the colours are, so that's fantastic, because I had no idea. I thought puce, blue, you know, who knew what it would be? So it's really been tough for 18 months actually. You all look absolutely fantastic, so well done to Geraldine. The geese Jen and Sarah form part of, basically there's a group of girls that Laura went to school with, and they have this ongoing and aimed sort of WhatsApp convo. You guys are fantastic, and you provide Laura with a lot of support from home and bedrock, really, of commitment, and you guys are great. But I wanted to add a little story about the first time I met you guys. So basically, I've been dating Laura for a couple of months, and she'd been going on and on about these geese. And I didn't know what it was, but apparently it's all the lovely Irish girls. And one day, I was in Clapham with Laura meeting them, and I thought, well, look, I'm a bit nervous, I want to make a good impression, but at least I'm on home turf. Suddenly, 14 or 15 of these geese descend upon us, and they just talked for 2 hours, and I had literally no idea what they were saying. Just firing all kinds of questions at me. I was just like completely taken aback. Laura as well, just, you know, from nowhere had an Irish accent, so that was particularly bizarre. we got through the drinking, and then we then decided to go back to Laura's flat. And I was sort of used to sort of girls in the London area, and they. I've never seen a Domino's order and a pizza demolition in my life. Apparently, even though Laura had a full meal, I went back to the toilet and she finished up a pizza. Fantastic. I always love coming over here for one of the goose wedding. Mostly because the guys are great, but I'm joking, Sarah. You guys are fantastic, and we've had a lot of fun getting to know each other, obviously, over the last 3 years or so. Moving on from the geese onto the Houstons to my left. Alex, Zoe, Joe, you've really welcomed me most of the time. Welcome, it's been mostly abuse, so. The Houston, so Tommy, who's Zoe and Joe's dad, called me Jamie for the first 2 years of our relationship. So I think he does know my name now, but he did say well done Jamie to me earlier, so I'm not entirely sure if that's true. No, you, especially you, Joe, obviously Laura's away from home, well, London's I guess home for us now, but away from Ireland, and you provide with sort of, real close support and a lot of wine, most importantly. You're a fantastic friend to Laura, and you've been a great friend to me as well. Moving on to my groomsmen now. Obviously touched on James, Cyril and Glenn. We've had some great fun together, guys, and you're fantastic lads. You're also all married with kids, and Cyril about to be, so you're an incredible inspiration for me as I descend into that world. But yeah, I just want to ask a question though. We are still allowed some big nights out, aren't we? Should I ask the wives though? Kate, Sarah, is that alright? Oh, there you are. Maybe not so much Sarah. But, anyway, I look forward to spending a lot more time with you guys in the future, and thank you for everything. So, couldn't have better guys as my groomsmen. That then moves on to my best men. I guess some people say, why did you choose your brothers as best men if you've not got any mates? I thought it was quite harsh, to be honest, but I sort of took it on the chin, really. The truth is, people that I guess know us know we've got a pretty special relationship, and you might be my brothers, but you're also my best mates, so it was pretty easy. We just recently had a weekend, as Gaz would say, in Newcastle, which, if you haven't seen the pictures, basically 22 Nicolas Cage lookalikes wandering around Newcastle, pretending to be cool. It was amazing. It was amazing. I did think 22 was too many, but actually it did work out pretty well. So it was incredible. It was probably the best weekend of my life, actually. Apart from this one. Come here. She's so nearly pit there as well. So my brothers. Lucas, you are literally life and soul, as I put in my sort of wedding description. You're definitely the most positive person I know. Incredible. Even despite your recent injury, you have moaned a bit about it, but you've barely moaned about it. So, and you just jumped straight onto the gym and swimming and all sorts. I think we've never really fallen out. Although I was thinking about this the other day. There was one particular occasion we did fall out. It was quite a big deal, actually. It was under 10s end of season football dinner at Chichester Football Club, and I was hanging with my mates, and Lucas was like 8 at 7, how old was he at the time? 7, 8, 1 or 2, and he decided to try and wind me up and play the big guy. I think he was a 10-year-old, but he was only 8. So I just decided to clobber him one. I'm a pacifist. I don't hit anyone, but I decided to hit you one that day, and then Dad grabbed me, threw me out of the pub, straight to bed at like 6 in the PM. Didn't speak to you for 2 weeks, so. But apart from that, Dave is what I call him, by the way. You've been a great brother, and he's a cracking at the stag, and best man apart from the other one, which is Gaz. For those of you who don't know, Gaz is a chef extraordinaire. Worked at many fine establishments, Claridge's, a few others. The North Bank's great as well. Gaz is most people that you live with, and I lived with Gaz for 2 years in Putney and Purley, and most people you say, look, when you come home from work, mate, don't talk about work, I don't want to hear about it, just talk about something else. But when Gaz brought back ox cheek and various things from Claridge's that he stole from the kitchen, I was delighted for him to bring his work back home with him. So, I mean, who doesn't want ox cheek soup on a Tuesday night? Thank you both for being amazing brothers and perfect best men for me. Moving on from brothers, but staying with the family, obviously my lovely parents to the right hand side. I don't think I could have ever had better parents, really, apart from being incredible support for me and giving us every opportunity in life. We've had some incredible holidays and experiences together, been to Florida, Barbados, South Africa. We've had a pretty good life, to be honest. Also, I mean, you are so biased, it's fantastic. I play a game of football, score 2 own goals, oh, you're man of the match. I mean, we lost 2-0, but you were the best man on the pitch apart from that. So, every Monday after playing the civil, and Dad's like, oh, everyone else is terrible, you should be in the first team. I mean, I know that, but just ridiculous bias, but highly enjoyable anyway. Mum, I've always been in awe of your inner strength. You've had some really tough things to go through in your life, but I really hope that this weekend, Judith and the girls here and everything else, you really are genuinely happy and that we've had a fantastic experience together. Seeing the girls walking down the aisle today was truly magical, so I love you. So, Dad, most people have a very good relationship with their fathers. I'd say that I have a particularly unique one in that we spend a lot of time together and annoy each other a lot, as people like Will, who work with me every day, would agree with. But throughout all the stress, and there's plenty of it, we travel the country, meet people all the time, and we get to do what we love, most of the time, together, and it's a truly magical thing to share that with you, and it's built some more amazing buildings that people will hopefully enjoy for years to come. So thank you for everything, both of you. I'm indebted to you, so thanks. I want to also thank our amazing hosts, and I'd say this on behalf of everyone, I'm sure. Liz and Bill, you've put on some party here today. It really is incredible. So thank you all. I know it's had a bit of preparation and stuff like that, and I could have played a more hands-on role at times. I agree. But hearing Bill describe my DIY skills are probably for the best, to be honest. Joe recently asked me what my first impressions were of Bill and Liz. Bill, I thought, what a lad. Well, likes a beer, good lie. Liz, terrifying. Genuinely terrifying. The lizard, as she likes to be known, gave me once I got through the formal vetting process, it did start to ease up, but no, in all seriousness, you've treated me like a son, like all of your family do. Every time I come over here, I feel like I'm Prince Harry, really. Got blonde hair and not, quite so good with women. Apart from you, Dad. No, in all seriousness, we've had so much fun. We've been to Sri Lanka, Spain. Whenever you come over to London as a four, we have just the most fun. It's been absolutely brilliant, and little things we've done, like Bill and I grab a beer in Gaul, and whilst the girls are shopping, which is great for me, and for Bill, I'm sure. So it's been so fun, and now we I know Laura's now officially in McDonald, but I'm very much a Houston and a Fulton, and I'm so happy to be part of your family, and thank you for everything. I guess that's it for me. It's not. I do have one obviously final thank you to add, and that is to my incredible wife, Laura. I think when I first met you, I was a 28-year-old balding, cocky so-and-so. Okay, only my age has really changed. That's still my jokes, still already. It's been ages to write that. Cheers. As I think Bill put it very well, actually. You've got the best of both your parents. You're incredibly generous, incredibly selfless. You've changed me so much. I am a million times better person now than the day I was when I met you. Ask anyone who knows me long enough. You truly light up every room. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say anything critical about you, and I know I never will. So thank you for being you, and I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. It's going to be perfect. Thank you. Am I toasting? Okay. Toast for Laura.
Right, everybody, you thought that you heard the last from me, but unfortunately that's not the case, because Andy has left a couple of things for me to touch on. First of all, he was saying about being mistakenly called Jamie. My father, John Johnston, is known to his grandchildren as Pappy. So Laura calls him Pappy, my daughter calls him Pappy, the Fulton boys call him Pappy. Somebody not a million miles away from me thought that that was my father's Christian name when he first met him. One of the parts of my day that I've most looked forward to is that I've been given the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Johnston family today. This is something that I have inherited from my father, and I'm very, very pleased to welcome Andy into the greater Johnston clan. Now I know there was a slip of the tongue there, it's nerves, so let him off when he was talking about Fultons. I know you were, it's okay. So, I'm extremely fond of Andy. I was very lucky in that I managed to winkle a test match last year with Andy. And we did a few social ones. It was very, 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 very entertaining day. Andy was in charge of the eats, and he must have bought the entire stock of the local pret-a-manger, because we ate like lords, and it was funny. It was at Lords. We ate like lords at Lords, and when I sat down, I took my seat. The guy sitting on the other side of me was a retired police inspector from Portrush, so it's an extremely small world. Next up is one of the best men. Now, I don't know who's going first, whether it's Lucas or Gaz, or if it's either or both, but whoever wants the mic can have it. And it's Lucas.
Hello. Welcome! Has anyone seen Andy's coat? We'll talk about that a bit later. So yeah, just wanted to firstly say, what an amazing day. I hope you all agree that, as you mentioned, Stephen, the wedding was absolutely spectacular. The choir was a bit of a surprise to us as well, but yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I hope you're all having a cracking time. So as Andy has kind of covered off most of the stuff I'm going to talk about. So But we are his brothers, his younger brothers, his better looking brothers. He's much cooler, funnier, sexier. He would kind of touch on that. So, but Andy came to us and said, "Look, we'd love you to be a best man." I thought, yeah, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Thanks, mate. And then I spoke to Laura, I said, "How many people are coming?" She said, "There's going to be 254. Jeez. But yeah, I was absolutely shocked as well. There's absolutely no way Andy knows 54 people. Sorry. Anyways, what we're keen to do is, to start really from the very beginning so you can get to know him as well as possible. So he was born on the 7th of January 1964 in Long Beach, California. Nicholas Kincaid. Sorry, Robert.
He was actually born on the 16th of February 1985 in Epsom. Amazingly with a full head of hair. In primary school he did very well. We won the Spanish prize. Can't speak a word of it now. Well done anyway. Gracias. He played cricket for Surrey in the younger years and also Crystal Palace Academy. So sport-wise did very well. Went to York Castle, was a prefect, captain of the cricket team as well there. Left to go to Reading University, did history there, did very well, got a 2-1. Some of his friends are here today, Cyril, Glenn, and oh yeah, that's it. He's now doing very well, working with my dad over there, sports clubhouse and also McDonald Design, so 2 businesses going very well. So as you can see, Andy's obviously he's doing very well in his life. He's very ambitious, obviously down to Laura. So yeah, did very well at sport when he was young. But there's something you should know. Even though he's very sporty, he can't ride a bike. I know. Even also the gym.
I think it's important as well that whilst we're on the I suppose the topic of transport, as a typical 17-year-old, Andy, the number one thing on his agenda was to pass his driving test. So he put in the hours, did the lessons. Unfortunately, he failed his first time, and his second. And his third. And his fourth. And his fifth. And then I remember, so then we obviously mentioned we played a lot of cricket when we were younger. And if you haven't met my dad yet, Steve over there, he is the shy and retiring type. Not one to kind of be too vocal or to know what's going on. I remember being at the club and someone comes and goes, "Steve, where's Macca? Is he playing today? He's playing today." No. He's got a 6th driving test today. 6th driving test. So oh right, yeah, wish him luck. Yeah, we'll do. And then so about half an hour later, we're all on the boundary, we're batting. So there's loads of people there waiting to. He gets the call, "Macca! Hey mate, how'd it go?" Yep. Curb. Yep. Red light. Yeah, no, unlucky mate. Next time. Did he pass? No, it's 7th. And his 8th. Did he go down the 9th time? So... like a cat. So if you ever see him behind the wheel, do not get in. He hasn't improved. That's it. Oh, sorry, mate. So we had the stag do. We're kind of coming up to the present day now, and I think I've been kind of warned. I didn't actually go on Cyril's stag do, but I've been warned about Andy's performance on that stag do. I won't go into it, but certainly ask Cyril, perhaps even ask Liz. I think she knows a little bit more what happened that day. That's perhaps probably not best for this kind of conversation. But so yeah, we went up to Newcastle, as Andy mentioned, and we had a lot of plans. And obviously the first night, I went out, big night on Friday night. We had kind of a number of hostel rooms, so there were 4 rooms split between kind of 6s and 4s and so forth. Andy wasn't in my room. I didn't want to know any of the surprises that were coming up, so I was like, you can't be in my room. Anyway, I woke up first in the morning. First I said, Andy, on the top bunk. Mate, have you seen my coat? This is a recurring thing. Laura bought him a pretty awesome coat. So Andy was in their coat. The coat wasn't in the room. Neither was any of Andy's other clothes, to be honest. Although he's going to be up at 9 o'clock, he's got kids, so I was texting Glenn, who was in Andy's room, and I said, mate, have you seen Andy's coat? He said, no, there's no coat, but there are his jeans, his shoes, his phone, and his wallet. So I was like, okay, but no coat. So we're kind of making it. We're getting there. Then I went to next door, and there was his coat and his shirt. So somehow Andy had managed to split between the 3 of them. I think he'd probably gone off and taken his trousers off, his shoes, dropped his phone off in his room, then somehow gone into the next room, taken his coat and his jacket off, and then somehow ended up in our room. It was a pretty good weekend actually. That was about the heights of the debauchery, so it wasn't too bad. Don't worry. No, that was honestly. But anyway, I think it kind of leads us to now, and as you know, Andy, him and Dad work very, very, very closely together. Doing really some amazing things with sports clubhouses. And just from a kind of a brother perspective, we kind of take the piss out of each other a lot. But mate, you did an incredible job. It's really kind of good to see kind of how passionate and inspirational your work is. And if you're on Facebook, social media, certainly check out some of the work they're doing. It's absolutely amazing. I'm getting paid for this. So it kind of leads us now. So yeah, as I said earlier, an amazing day. I think it's just a couple of thanks really. I wanted to kind of say, certainly looking around here, the venue is absolutely spectacular. I know the work that's gone in behind it. The flowers, everything. I know I think it's been in planning for around about 28 years. So personally, I'd like to say a massive thanks to Bill. You've been the brains behind everything. So I'm joking, Liz, amazing. You're an absolute diamond. I love you. So I think, to kind of thinking back to where I met Laura, I was trying to think of where it was. And I think it was in February 2013. We were on a night out, and Andy said, mate, you've got to come, you've got to meet this new girl, mate, she's absolutely amazing, you've got to meet her. So we were going to a venue which I looked online to try and see kind of what they've been. It's described as the worst club in Europe. Atrocious. If I could give it 0 stars, I would. Awful crowd, terrible music, no atmosphere. But yeah, First Club Putney, lovely place. Despite the kind of questionable setting, it was very easy to see why Nick was so besotted. Not only is Laura, fun, intelligent, charming, beautiful. There's a million superlatives I could say about you, but one thing I'm very, very sure about is you really, really bring the best out of Andy. And as you said, he's 10 times the person he was before he met you. So. And so I think so. When I think around, Gaz and I, you, Andy, reason and. When I look at Bill and Liz and yourself as well, the reason you guys are so compatible is just a big thanks to kind of the background that we've had, Mum and Dad. without kind of over, saying what you said, what you guys have given to us over this year, the support, everything you've given to us. We wouldn't have turned out how we wouldn't be best friends like we are. And I know for sure that Andy wouldn't be the same person he is as he is today. And the same with you, Blizzard. Sorry. For you guys, you're constantly amazing. So every time we come round to Living Eye or the family, or we see you in London, your generosity, your kindness, your love is just unbelievable. And any time that you guys come over, we're always desperate to see you. And Laura, if she becomes half the person that you guys are, then she'll be an amazing person as she is already.
Again, I just want to reiterate what Lucas just said. Every time we see you guys, as in Blizzard, you guys are so nice. The generosity is incredible. And Annie and Laura, I'm so glad you guys are together. Laura, you're an incredible person. I've never known someone who listens to every conversation and remembers everything as well. And also, we're so selfishly lucky that we've got you guys in our lives now. So thank you very much for that. And we'll call the uplifting and toast for Laura and Andy.
And next up is Mr. Steve McDonald, not from Coronation Street, so he doesn't inform as far as I know. And you're very welcome, Steve, and take it from here.
Thank you very much. The real pressure tonight is that I could actually now be possibly the worst speaker, public-wise, in my family. So thank you very much indeed, guys, for what you said. The other good news, because I know you're all getting very hungry, is the fact that nearly everything I was going to say has already been said. So again, thank you very much. But I have got some thank yous to say, and some of that will be repeating itself. But not just the Houstons, but actually everybody from Ireland that have welcomed us. Yes, it's been incredibly well organised. I can't possibly imagine the detail. It's just been incredible. But much more than that, it's just been the kindness that everybody's shown, not just to myself and my family, but to all of our friends who visited. They've been made to feel incredibly welcome right from the word go. Nothing has been too much trouble. It's absolutely impossible. No, actually it's not impossible. I finally succeeded in beating Bill to the bill by walking into the restaurant, going straight to the person who was likely to actually be compiling the bill and tell them under no circumstances whatsoever to even talk to the guy at the end of the table. I was going to pay for it. Now, I was very sensible to do that when there were very few people actually with me. I would have been quite much more reluctant had it been this number. But look, they're absolutely terrific. From the first time that we met them, they've just been so generous, warm, friendly, and knowing the fact that it's us, I couldn't actually believe that. So they must be kind, warm and generous people, automatically. But every one of our friends and every one of the guys' friends who meet you have come back with exactly the same comments. That you've just been so hospitable and kind and generous, and it's just been terrific. It's been great and uplifting for us because there's now somewhere that I feel is almost a second home. And thank you so much. You've been very kind. Other people to thank are, of course, the people from the UK and Andy's friends and everybody else who have come over here. Very few people, as you've already said, actually declined the opportunity, and they've come with all sorts of bizarre travel details, all of which I think everybody's had to try and accommodate, and we've managed to get everybody here. But thank you everybody for coming here and making it so special, and thank you to everybody from Ireland for welcoming me. That's terrific. The most important person to thank, of course, is Laura. So Laura, thank you very much for being so foolhardy as to see the same in Andy that we do, and actually trusting your instincts and actually going ahead with it. So and actually putting up with us. It's so fantastic to have you in our family, and we can now officially say that. For the first minute we met you, there was somebody who was actually, the real difficulty someone was going to have coming into this family was, apart from us and me particularly, was sort of breaking into the trio, because they're so close and they're such good friends. But the fantastic thing is that not only are you very bright and intelligent and all those things that we all know, but you're very self-deprecating and just great to have around. But the most important thing, you've just got a fantastic sense of humour. And somehow you've got a sense of humour that's on the same wavelength as these three. So when you're together, it's kind of the four of you, and I really appreciate that. And it's terrific, and I know how strongly they feel about you as well. So look, you're a terrific person, and we're just so excited about having you as part of our family. And thank you very much indeed for saying I do to Andrew. Slight sadness is there are people who aren't here, and for me personally, my father not being here is very sad, because he never met Laura, and I know that he would have liked her spirit and her enthusiasm about everything, her brightness and her humour, and I know he would have absolutely loved you. And my mother similarly, I wouldn't say she's frail, possibly lacking in mobility might be the best description. I know she would very much like to have been here today, and she wants to make a small contribution, and that's been going towards the photography and the videoing, so that she can enjoy everything that we're enjoying today when she gets the chance to see that. And she sends very much her love to you both. I'm supposed to speak, I suppose, about Andrew. I spend about 12 hours a day with him. I do apologise. We work tremendously hard together. He's one of these sort of people who makes a massive fuss about the most small thing, which is a bit like me as well, really. If it's a major thing, he's the best person to have as a partner, and to have someone, he's unshakable when we've got problems, and we've had our problems. But he's very strong and very determined, and unfortunately, he's making me carry on working, really, because I've finally got a decent business partner to work with. The good news is, though, about the wedding, as you've already heard, that he's being chauffeured in both directions, so there are not too many problems with him driving anywhere. It's actually very unfair, really, because what Lucas didn't tell you is at least one of those was snowed off, so he didn't even get to the car. And another one, he turned up with his form, only to find it was the wrong form. So, officially, it was only really 6. Anyway, so that's really, he's a terrific son, and I'm very, very proud to have him as my son. And I think when and I think it's already been said, it was 16th of February 1985. An incredible day for me. It's the day when you suddenly wake up and you realise, looking down into your son's eyes, that it's never going to be the same again. You have a responsibility for the rest of your life, and you hope for many things for them. You hope that they're going to be successful, you hope they're going to enjoy the things that you enjoy, and you can have fun together. You want them to be have a good life, and all those things you hope for them. Most of all, you just want them to be happy. And if I could have seen this 30 odd years ago, when I looked down into his eyes, I would have been overjoyed and very happy and relieved that I think he's turned out the way he has, and that he's met someone as beautiful as Laura, and he's a fantastic son, and I would have been very, very happy had I known it was going to work out the way it's working out for him. So that's for me, and I'd like to thank all of you and everybody here. And thank goodness for everybody now, I think you can all eat. But before we do that, if I can just have you upstanding again and just say thank you very much indeed to Andrew and Laura.
We have some more people who do want to talk, however, before your dinner gets incinerated, I would just like to call on Dr. Williamson to come up and say grace, please.
Thank you very much. Laura, just one quick question. Who is Richard? You know, in all my years, for Richard and for poor has never happened before. Let's pray together. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you that you've blessed us in so many different ways. We thank you for the lavishness of your love in Jesus. We thank you for the gift of family and friends and for time to spend together. And we thank you now for this meal that we've shared together, for those who prepared it, for those who will serve it to us. Lord, may we know that we are truly blessed. And we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just serving the tea and coffee and we're going to finish off with this few speeches. So those of you at the back of the room at the bar, could I ask you just to make your way to your seats so we can finish off?
Right, folks, back to me. We're going to get ourselves through this as quickly as we can because I know that the band are anxious to set up. So can you give me a wee bit of quiet so we can get a ship made? And the first person I'd like to call on is Laura's grandfather. So John Johnson's going to come up and join us.
Mr. and Mrs. MacDonald, sorry I have such a hoarse voice this evening. I got a real nasty chest cold. Mr. and Mrs. MacDonald, ladies and gentlemen, I was touched to know that Bill was quoting the last verse of a poem I had written all those years ago. I was going to Belfast on the train the other day and I began to squiggle and I had 2 or 3 verses written and I thought, well, you know, I'll just get ahead here. So I have another poem there now. This is going to be very valuable material. You see, this is the original manuscript. On an envelope with a bill inside, which I hope Nora will eventually pay. And then I managed to get it transcribed onto another piece of paper this morning. The weather's kind, the guests are here, the great day has arrived. The plans have fallen into place for Andy and his bride. Now, Andy, you're a lucky man, for Laura's quite a catch. No girl like her round every bend. They don't come in a batch. She's quite an individual, with a mind that's all her own. No fools are suffered gladly. She demands a job well done. Her PA is her mother. And as the months have gone, the pace has quickened by day. Liz counted every one. No detail she has overlooked. Lots of gadgets to employ. And now she's got the weather right. So it's just a day to enjoy. Bill used his engineering skills. Should he have to beg or borrow, the last detail, the marquee to house some guests tomorrow. As you set out on the journey of the years that are to come, we trust good health and fortune will be with you, everyone. Of course, you'll have your ups and downs as you travel on your way. We wish you every blessing in your new life, day by day. There's one who'll walk beside you as you travel through the years. Trust him to keep you in his care, in laughter and in tears. So we wish you both good fortune. May God's richest blessing send. The road be smooth, the pathway straight, until the journey's end.
You can see why that man was a hard act to follow, was doing the MC at the family weddings. So thank you very much, Dad. Next up is the chief bridesmaid, our best woman.
So here we go. It's Joe.
Here we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and the English. I think we can all agree that was a superb meal, so thank you very much for staying. I've been warned by quite a few family members not to get too tipsy before my speech, so this will be very quick. To everyone that knows me as Bruce, Dory, or Patsy, to those that don't, I am Jo, Laura's slightly older cousin, but in my eyes, my best friend and my third sister. In the words of Vicky Dobbin, I've known you a long time. Laura moved over from Milton Keynes 21 years ago with her seriously annoying English accent and followed me around everywhere that I would go and tried to befriend all my mates. As years have passed by, the tables have turned. 2 pages. I followed Laura across the waters to London, where we have literally become inseparable, spending most of our time in Artesian Wells. You're now my go-to girl, and thankfully have now got a Northern Irish twang. The competitive diva that you are, the one with the brains, the witty banter, and the killer legs. You have also beaten me up the aisle, although technically I walked up before you. I couldn't be more privileged to be sat here today as your maid of honour. I couldn't believe when Laura lay beside me one morning and told me that she had found the one. This guy that was so smart, funny, and smoking hot. What did happen to that guy? Andy, you're okay too. Andy, now that you and Laura are officially married, being a part of this family comes with certain expectations. But don't worry, I've worked very hard in keeping the bar very low until recently. Needless to say, you've exceeded these expectations with flying colours, and you've survived a trip to Bushmills Distillery with all the Houston boys. You've become Laura's rock and given her the support to be this amazing woman that sits in front of us. So truly, thank you for becoming the Mrs. Mac. The biggest challenge with this speech was finding a story that I could share with so many people and not get excluded from the family circle. Because I'd have to explain why I was a leading role in this story. In true Joe Houston fashion, I will conclude with a rhyme. Babe, the name that you've always been known to me, the reason best not made public, I sure will agree. I'm sorry I couldn't compete with the best speech ever. But in Andy Mack, you have found a partner forever. I've had the best years creating chaos on London's ground. In Artesian Wells, no eligible men were anywhere to be found. A few. Many hard times, mostly breakups, you've guided me through. The true bond formed when we battled through many a bad hairdo. It all started in 2003, one lonely dark cold January night. Both Laura and Andy were sat at home frantically swiping right. Their first date, they spent drinking wine out of plastic tumblers. The very sight of Andy gave her stomach the rumblers. It wasn't long until Andy realised he was ready to make it official. A weekend in Cambridge turned out to be super beneficial. I will never forget the first night I met Laura's Andy's Prince Charming. So charismatic, lively, and sported a hairline that was rather alarming.
It is hard to believe this fairy tale started nearly 4 years ago, that Andy MacDonald became the one you called your beau. Andy, in my eyes, you're the luckiest man in the room.
But Laura, you've picked the most perfect groom. Andy, you're now officially in the Houston family ring. I will never forget that time that Laura ended up in a sling. Sorry. I cannot stand up here and give you both marriage advice. Just have fun, be loyal to each other, and most of all, be nice. I wish you both the most happy, blissful married life. I think Laura may need some training to be a wife. This brings us up to the present day with only a few words left to say. This wedding was one of the great. Now it's time to get tiddled and celebrate. I'd like to make a toast. If we could all raise our glasses. May your love be modern enough to last the times, but traditional enough to last forever. To the new Mr. and Mrs. Mac. I snorted.
I have to confess, I got so hungry listening to those McDonald's, I ate the speech.
Mr. and Mrs. MacDonald, esteemed guests.
As patriarch of the Houston family, it is my great privilege to welcome the MacDonalds to our family circle. Now, when you talk about a patriarch, generally you think of someone who inspires great respect, has great wisdom, and sort of takes the whole family along. In my case, it's purely chronological. I'm the oldest. Dora and Tom, our parents, expounded the view that they would have an open door policy, and that extended throughout their whole lifetime. And I would like to assure you that that policy still continues in the next generation and is extended to the MacDonald family in large measure. I think you've experienced some of it today and over the last couple of days, and you will always be welcome in our family circle. During the past 3 years, we've gotten to know Andy pretty well, and we like him. Yeah, we do, honestly, we do like him. He's got a great sense of humour. He manages to survive a whiskey tasting session at Bushmills with his now father-in-law. And in essence, he's a really good guy, and he obviously loves Laura to distraction, which is a good thing, obviously. So we are very pleased that Andy has joined our family circle. You may have noticed, Andy, that during your getting to know us, that the Houston boys have sort of a habit of marrying fairly strong women. And let me assure you that the next generation of Houston women is no different, as I'm sure you've discovered. Now, this means that things can be quite challenging at times, but provided that you adopt a sensible attitude and manage the situation, it can also be an extremely rewarding lifestyle, I have to say. And in some ways to demonstrate this, I just want to tell you a wee quick joke. There were 4 golfers sitting in Royal Portrush. Sorry, by the way, any resemblance to anyone living or dead is purely coincidental. 4 golfers sitting, fairly mature golfers sitting after their game, and they'd obviously enjoyed their game, and one of them said, "Wouldn't it be great if we could play on Christmas Day?" And the others, of course, by this time, had probably had a couple of wee whiskies or a couple of pints, and they said, "What a good idea. We'll do it on Christmas Day." So Christmas Day duly came along, and the 4 of them met. And 3 of them looked somewhat pressurised. So the first one, he said, "You see this game today, it's cost me a nice new Mercedes sports car." Now, I don't know if you know of anybody who's got a Mercedes sports car, but that's by the by. So there's a new Mercedes sports car ordered to keep the wife happy. And the second one, he says, "That's pretty bad too." He says, "But I have my wife sitting in bed with a whole pile of travel brochures, and she's looking for a cruise in the Caribbean." The third boy, he says, "That's nothing." He says, "My wife," he says, "is busy getting in contact with the local kitchen designer. She wants a brand new kitchen out of the thing." And the fourth boy, he says, "I got up this morning," he said, "and I went to the window and opened the curtains, and I threw the curtains open and I said to the wife, he says, boys, he says, that'd be a great morning for making passionate love or even a game of golf." And she says, "Well, don't forget your cap, dear, it might be cold." It would be extremely remiss of me not to make mention of the 2 main players today. Really, the main players. And that's been on news. It's an absolute monumental task they have undertaken, and they have done it absolutely brilliantly. And I would like to thank them both on behalf of our family, and indeed all you guys sitting around here, for such a fabulous job, such a great day, and such great crack. And that's what it's all about. Laura and Andy, may the sun always shine upon you. May the road always rise to meet you. May the wind always be in your back, and the rain fall softly in your fields. And may more than a fence run round your garden. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. I do have one more person who is tabled
to speak. Now she's going to have the last word. If there's anybody else who particularly feels the need...
Let's face it, it's 9:20 at night, and honestly, you would really need to make a very good case to me before I'm going to give you the microphone. So, unless you have a death wish and decide you want to take the mic off me, I'm going to hand you over to the bride. Mrs. Laura MacDonald.
So I think most people know that I'm not one to be seen and not heard. And I'm very grateful to get the last word here. But I'm conscious that I'm speaking to a room of serious orators. We've got Pappy of BBC fame. We've got Johnny of Slaughter and May speech master fame. We've got a number of very impressive barristers. The men and women who came before me, and the woman who paid for 15 years of my elocution lessons. So I have the sense to keep this fairly short. My confidence is also still recovering from a recent birthday speech that Andy loudly declared to the assembled crowd to be one of the worst speeches he'd ever heard. At least I'm not standing on my seat this time. But I couldn't let this occasion go without saying a few things, most of which have been said before, but I feel they also need to come from me. So principally, thank you. To everyone who is here, many of whom have travelled across oceans to join us. Thank you. Overwhelmed feels like an overused word, but I mean it at its absolute maximum strength when I say that we are so completely and utterly overwhelmed to have you all here, cheering us on as we take this next step in our journey. We feel so incredibly fortunate to count this room of heroes as our closest friends and family. Special shout-outs need to go to Rob and Barbara and Fiona from Germany, Claire and Ryan from New York, to Alison from Dubai, Heather from San Francisco, and to James from Sydney. James, I will never really be able to put into words how much it means for Andy and me to have you here. Trust me, I've had to deal with the build-up. Given Andy's general excitement levels at life in default, you should have some sense of what I've gone through. It's been a long couple of weeks. To my girls, what do I say? You are wonderful. Confidants, partners in crime, agony aunts, toughest critics, largely Sarah, and ultimately sisters to this only child. I'm so proud to have collected you up as my BFFs, recognising that the cousins have little choice in the matter. And to have you here beside me. Thank you for making my world a more fun and enjoyable place to be. To Andy's boys, I think tradition dictates I'm allowed to say you're looking mighty fine. Thank you for being his main men and for shepherding him through today. He's a very lucky man. To Jennifer, Barry and the rest of the staff at the Royal Court. To Grace for her wonderful styling. To James for his beautiful playing. Jill for her wonderful flowers. To Richard for lending his name to the occasion. Dedication to our dresses, and everybody else who has turned Mum's vision, my vision, into a reality. This wedding planning has taught me a lot about myself, and it turns out I'm a complete nightmare. So thank you for your patience and for your passion. To the Max, to Sharon, to Steve, to Gaz, Lucas, Olivia, Judith and the girls and the wider family circle, thank you for making me feel welcome from day one and deeming me good enough for AMAC. Thank you for providing me with another family, handy that this one is in the same country, and for creating the man that I'm lucky enough to spend the rest of my life with. Andy Mac. My husband. Ultimately, what this is all about. And whilst I absolutely love the party, I am so excited to be able to spend the rest of my life with you. I know you think I'm a sentimental fool. When I try to make you listen to song lyrics. But I think Ben Haynow sums it up pretty well when he says, "You're like the net under the ledge. When I go flying off the edge, you go flying off as well. And if we only live once, I want to live with you. You're my rock, my world is a considerably brighter place with you in it. Thank you for your never-ending vigour for life, and for making me, a better version of myself. I can only hope that you're able to find enough superlatives to adequately describe today." So I think that's everybody really, anyone? To Mum and Dad, there aren't really any words to sum up how I feel, which, it transpires, makes writing a speech quite difficult. I know I'm taking things out of the traditional order, but as this chapter closes, I feel it apt to leave you to last. I'm not going to look at you. I think I speak for everyone here when I say thank you for throwing what I consider to be the world's best party. Your generosity literally knows no bounds, and that's been the way it's been for as long as I can remember. Joke about the fact that Mum has been planning this for 29 years, but the time and effort that you've both poured into today is incomprehensible. As I sat with my 10 toes up at Dora's yesterday, munching through rounds of coronation chicken sandwiches, Mum, you scoured the country for edible flowers and burgundy spray paint, while Dad finished off pew-end candle holders and tied ribbons. Which rather sums up this whole process. You're the engine behind the entire operation while I waltz in and bathe in the glory. But more fundamentally, thank you for the last 29 years of support, love and blissful happiness. We've had our ups and downs, from endless parties and family dues to midnight calls to say
my intensive care goodbyes. And when I get the chance to sit at our dance, you've always encouraged me to dance when no one's watching. And I owe every success to your grounding, goodness me, and unwavering support.
Our 3 has become a 4, and I am so incredibly proud to share you with Andy. So, get this over with. So, a toast. To 3 becoming 4. Emotional.
That was just lovely. That was absolutely lovely. That was the cherry.